So here I am thinking, oh yes, surely they've reworked War Wagons, since the dudes in the back have those fancy repeater handguns that the Outriders use. But no, actually, they just took away their repeaters and gave them handguns, which is what they always had in terms of their actual shooting attack. They just look like they had repeaters. So yeah, the War Wagon rework is false. It's a lie. I'm sorry. There's also one other thing to mention quickly. This was in an earlier version of the patch. Has been slightly updated since, since I fought this battle. I'm still recording it on the old patch, obviously, but one thing to note, Griffins have had an HP buff. One big thing I've been pushing for quite some time. But Boris still has the old HP, as this was on an older version of the patch. But anyway, up against Norsca with the War Wagons and their fancy new logos and their fancy new guns, even though their shooting attack is probably mostly the same. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Got some free company, including the Stirland's Revenge up front, some spearmen here, Warrior Priest with the Banner of Eternal Flame. It's an old tech, but it checks out, especially against Norsca. Gives some flaming damage to whatever's around him, namely the Great Cannon for the time being. Got a Bright Wizards and Swordsmen, Spearmen, Empire Knights protecting the flanks. Got these Norscan Warhounds working up and around the flanks, along with some armored Skin Wolves. We've got Throg in the front lines, some Icehorn Marauders, Free Company Militia, Tactical Lich coming in hot with some throwing axes. He's got Lore of Metal, Shaman, Sorcerer. So looking like quite the Norsca build. I've set myself up in a somewhat odd defensive position here. Not a full-on box, but some kind of geometry to defend the cannon. Try and generate some value firing in. We weren't really doing much shooting at Throg, so we're going to use the flaming cannon now to try and hit some of those armored Skin Wolves. Do a few models of them in. Stirland's Revenge getting hit by that bombardment as they start to unleash some free company fire in the front line. War Wagons getting inundated on the side. Yeah, War Wagons, initially I thought they were reworked, in fact, but yeah, upon further inspection, it seems that basically they just had their model changed. Like, I don't know, I'd have to compare their damage before and after, but I don't have the patch notes on hand, unfortunately, so I couldn't tell you 100% what changes they would have had. But, oh, there's Knights of the Blazing Sun, actually. Sorry, not Empire Knights. They're just going to crush through the Marauders on the right side and then overrun straight into the armored Skin Wolves that have been getting pounded by the cannon. Going to be a great 1-2 punch there on that side. On the other side, I don't have the Knights to defend. I'm kind of having to shore up with the War Wagons and just stay a little bit tight with the spears in a defensive position. Throw a little fireball out there at those Marauder Horsemen just to proc that Kindle Flame as the Knights of the Blazing Sun here just straight up shatter those Skin Wolves on the far side. That fire damage definitely coming into play big time. Beasts of Tashnar are going to try and scoot this gap here to try and get on that Great Cannon, which they're able to mostly do. Spears do stop up some of the models there, but Great Cannon will mostly stay online, at least for the time being. Boris going to throw in a charge against Throg. Not a favorable engagement, though, so he backs on away before Throg can get back up. Flies back up into the air, is going to wheel around, try and get another more favorable engagement. Speaking of favorable engagements, Shaman Sorcerer momentarily got tangled up with my Warrior Priest, which, of course, very favorable engagement for me. Likewise, Free Company just duking it out in the front line, pistols and swords for the Empire. As the War Wagons also try and hold things together, we're able to push back the Beasts of Tashnar. Not before they rout the cannon and crew, though, which is definitely painful, but perhaps we can get them back online shortly. We'll see. Throg here in the center pulls himself close to the Warrior Priest. So we're going to wheel Boris around Knights of the Blazing Sun on a rear charge here as well, just hammering into the Skin Wolves and the Marauders. And here comes Boris in on the attack as well. Get the flaming damage. Hammer of Sigmar from the Warrior Priest. You can see he's up to 71 melee attack with flaming damage. Not to mention Throg's likely being debuffed with White Cliff of Ulrich, Crush the Weak, Blood Roar, all of it going off. Leads to him taking multiple successive hits and quickly getting terror routed by Boris and the Warrior Priest. War Wagons continuing to blink in. No, that's actually the Free Company. There are a handful of War Wagons. They've definitely taken some damage, but have they paid for themselves? Not really. No, not even close, to be honest. This unit also taking a lot of damage from those throwing axes as they fire in. Quite painful. But with the loss of leadership of Throg, obviously the Norscan's going to have major problems, and it'll be a relatively quick victory for the Empire. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys War Wagons that, excuse me, They are, in fact, not really reworked mechanically, just visually. And again, this is pretty much how they always worked. They never really were true repeaters, so them just having their handguns sort of more true to what they always have been, I guess. And there's some pistoliers mixed in here as well now. I didn't realize, but they actually put some of the pistolier models. I recognize that helmet anywhere. They're now mixed into the War Wagon crews, which, again, I largely approve of. So, fun stuff for sure. Definitely interesting. Yeah. Yeah, the Knights of the Blazing Sun were a big part of that carry there, for sure, along with Boris and the Warrior Priest just helping to goon. Throg, of course. War Wagons did contribute. It's not like they did nothing, but I don't know. I think with all the other sort of gunpowder stuff coming to the Empire, with the DLC, obviously, and yeah, like land ships, right? Can't show them yet, but they exist, right? Could potentially take a similar niche as War Wagons, perhaps. We'll see. But I think War Wagons might still have a place in certain matchups where you need AP skirmish, but you're have a hard time using, say, Outriders because of their vulnerability to enemy light cavalry. Norsca would seem to be a good use case for that. They have great light cavalry and mobility options, so keeping Outriders alive against them is going to be incredibly difficult. So War Wagons just seem like a little bit of a more safer option in that way, right? So definitely could see them still having plenty of use case in that way. I thought maybe they had been nerfed, but I'm not sure, to be honest now. Maybe they had a slight damage nerf, I don't know. Again, I don't have the patch notes, but that's it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this relatively quick one. Okay, just to finish up here, I guess, yeah, I can't show you the post-battle screen because there's a bunch of DLC stuff on there I'm not supposed to show you, even though certain content creators apparently don't seem to care about that, but that's a discussion for another day. Instead, let's take a look at some of these guys. I just wanted to quickly compare handgunners, Outriders, and the War Wagons, so you guys can see here. I mean, obviously, visually, like we mentioned, these guys just have the handguns, right? They're basically the same as the handguns. Take a look at the missile damage as well. It's similar. Certainly, handgunners obviously have 90 unit models, so keep that in mind. 17 missile damage, 5 base missile damage, and a 13-second reload. Quite a long time on that reload in particular, but decent damage overall. The War Wagons, on the other hand, have 6 models times 4. What is that? 24 unit models firing, essentially. And each one does 1 shot per volley, right? The 6 shots per volley is essentially 1 individual man. So you can see each individual man does 25 AP with 5 base missile damage. So increased AP missile damage and like half the reload time, right? But there's, you know, like half the unit models, right? Less than half the unit models, so like a quarter of the unit models. So it does mean their burst obviously isn't going to be as good as the handgunners. And as I discussed in another video, the Outriders are different. They've got this repeater, which, I mean, they currently don't have it out. They've got their swords out instead. You've seen it, right? If I go ahead and activate against this hapless beast lord here, who I have against me in the MP Crossroads. Quite a distance to run over there to get to him, but obviously, if you've seen my previous video featuring Outriders, you know high volume of fire, right? But very low accuracy. Yeah, you can see the entire unit they're shooting in does a minuscule amount of damage because pretty much all the shots miss. So, I mean, again, I think the accuracy of these guys needs to maybe be fine-tuned a little bit, but even up close, still doesn't do all that much damage. But on paper, at least, the burst is potentially higher. They do have, what, less ammunition? Slightly less ammunition than the handgunners. And again, less unit models, but not nearly to the same extent as the War Wagons. So, I mean, if these guys were accurate, they would be the highest damage option of the 3. And because they also have mobility, it just makes them a clear, you know, clearly better than handgunners, even with their somewhat reduced accuracy. I say somewhat reduced. They're absolutely abysmal accuracy. Especially shooting at somebody like this Beast Infantry Lord here. There's gonna be probably a better option than handgunners in almost any situations. You can literally just use them as handgunners for the most part, and I think you'll have just as much success. Maybe. Hard to say. But let's see as these guys get in range. Handgunners, of course, are what they always have been, I would imagine. They're going to be quite accurate. Yep. decently accurate. Did as much damage on that one volley as the Outriders did on their point-blank one, just about. But, yeah, I mean, I think handgunners honestly could do with a little bit of cost reduction. We're going to have to see how the Empire balance shakes out, obviously, with all the DLC stuff. Hard to really make too many more predictions or recommendations for right now. But, yeah, you can even just see side by side between the two volleys. Like, the handgunner's quite accurate, pointed, whereas the Outriders just sort of shooting something over there, you know? They're kind of just in the general vicinity. I think the problem is, too, a lot of them are aiming too high. But anyway, that's it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.